Today, I want to give you 3 steps on how you can fight fear in your own lives. Stay tuned. Hi there, Dan with the Freedom Provider, and on this channel, we're talking about how we can achieve freedom in our daily lives and then provide it to others as well. And I ain't afraid of no ghost. Today we're talking about fear. And, with all the things that are going on in our culture today, fear is rampant. The amount of fear that surrounds the pandemic, in some cases, it's completely warranted. It can be something, fear is something that, is healthy and helps us and kind of alerts us to protect ourselves from danger. But also, fear is something that can be used as a tool to manipulate people and to control people. And, when I'm looking at fear in my own life and in the around the people around me, I feel like, fear is something in my own mind sometimes that cripples us and that can cripple and paralyze us in such a way that we can't even get anything done, or we procrastinate because of fear. There's this interesting quote I came across in my research on this, and it says, "Of all the liars in the world, sometimes the worst are our own fears." And that's from Rudyard Kipling. And it's so true. How many times do we have a fear in our own life or a fear in our mind that just lies to us constantly, and until we either don't take any action on it or we just completely ignore it altogether. This year, my wife sent me to the store, and I was picking up some stuff. It was a big box store, and I'm making my resupply, And she says, "Hey, if you see one of those swings, go ahead and pick one up. I think it'd be awesome for the kids." So what it is it's a rope swing, and it's just a giant disc with a bunch of weaved rope in it, and it's got 2 braided nylon ropes and some it has some carbiners, and then it also has some straps to go around the tree branch. But clearly there's not enough length in this little tree swing that I got that will allow me to connect it to my tree. Interestingly enough, last year we had contemplated doing the same thing, and in some ways fear kind of caused me to do a pocket veto on that. I just kind of said, "Oh yeah, we should get one of those." You ever done that, where you're kind of like, someone suggests doing something or getting involved with something or accomplishing a task, and you kind of go, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that, or we'll do that. But in the back of your mind, you're saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's kind of what I did last year with this swing, where my wife said that would be pretty cool, and I'm like, oh yeah, that would be pretty cool. And then I kind of just pocket vetoed it and put it away. But for some reason this year I thought, you know what, we can do this. Let's get that swing. And I got it. And then I had to get some rope. So I went and got some rope. And thankfully I have I think it's a 25-foot extension ladder. And because this tree branch that we hook this swing up to, it's 15 feet up in the air. And it's a pretty hefty branch, which is good. We wanted something that would hold the weight of even the adults that wanted to swing on this swing, So I get this rope all measured out and cut, and it's gonna go the distance. And I got my straps and everything, and I get the ladder leaning up against the tree, and I get it all set up. And just as I'm about to, I'm gearing up. I'm gearing up inside my heart and in my soul, just kind of saying, you know what, I'm going to do this. This ladder can support me. You know, I'm going to get up there and throw those straps around this tree branch and hook this rope up, and then I'm going to connect that swing. And just as I'm about to make my climb up to the tree branch, my neighbor reaches out to me and hollers out, "Good neighbor, good neighbor." He's German. He's 90 years old. One of the first guys to build his house in my neighborhood. He knew the guy who built my house. It's awesome. Great guy. I love him. I love him so much. But he calls me over and I say, "Yeah, what's happening?" And he's like, You're not gonna go up there, are you? You're not gonna climb up that ladder, are you? Yeah, I was planning on it. That's why the ladder's there, right? And he's like, "Oh no, don't do that. That ladder will break and you'll fall and break your neck, or worse, get hurt, or get killed or something." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "If I were you, I would just take that rope and throw the rope over the tree branches. That'll be just fine enough." I'm like, "Seriously? You're not helping me here." You're not helping me overcome this fear. I have a plan. I have a method of how I'm going to do this. And now I'm getting advice that is just encouraging my fear. Yeah, you shouldn't do this. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to get hurt. And I said, "No, I think I'm going to be okay, Gunta. This ladder holds my weight before. It's done that in the past. It's a good sturdy ladder. And I know how to place it up against the tree properly so that it doesn't fall out. Plus, my wife is going to spot me on the ladder." So I made the climb. And I actually had to do it a couple times because the first time the tree branch was so big that the straps wouldn't fit around so that I could get the rope. So I had to reposition the ladder away from the tree a little bit further out, which was a little bit higher up, but I didn't have to adjust the ladder too much, thankfully. And I climbed up there and I got the straps around, and I had to bring the rope up with me, so I fished the rope through. But have you ever kind of been in a scary situation, or at least scary to you, where you can almost feel your hand shaking a little bit? It's usually like a first time thing, like the first time you give up public, or you speak in public or something. You may not realize it, but or you feel your hand shaking, you feel your paper shaking. And sometimes the people that are watching you don't realize it, but you realize it, And I felt like that on the ladder a little bit. And it's not that I haven't been in high situations before on this. It's just that it had been so long since I had done it that fear was cropping up. And so for me, this was it was kind of scary. But once I got everything done and I got through the scary part, even looking down, 15 feet up, looking down, it was kind of scary. And that's nothing really in the grand scheme of things. There are people that climb towers, and my dad, he'd done work on some of the large buildings in Cleveland, and putting tin roofs on, or copper roofs on, and heating and air conditioning way high up, which 15 feet is nothing. And so I used that as kind of my motivation, and that I'd done this before. And it's interesting, there's a quote I came across, and it says, "Remember that on the other side of fear lies freedom." And I thought, man, that's something that I'm going to latch onto for this channel, that on the other side of fear lies freedom. And so once I got that swing hooked up, there was freedom experience, the freedom of being on the swing and the kids having a blast, and it worked out fabulously. It was amazing. Adults can swing on it because it's a pretty big ring, and it can hold almost 300 pounds. The swing's rated, I think, for even more, but we've had some good times on that swing. And had I had not overcome my fear of heights and being on that ladder and installing it, we would have never experienced that. I could have easily told my wife, no, I don't want to buy that swing. No, I don't want to do that. But the level of fun and the experience that my kids, myself, my wife have had on that swing in our backyard, it's created memories. It's created a sense of freedom and joy in our lives. And if I hadn't confronted that fear, all that wouldn't have happened. So let me give you these 3 steps that I've used to fight fear, and it actually helps kind of lessen the impact of it. And so the first step is to identify why you're afraid. Sometimes when we don't speak it out or write it down and we don't really identify why we're afraid, it just gets inflated and big and blown up, and we kind of make it bigger than what it actually is. And so when you identify it, maybe it's a legitimate fear, or maybe it's something that's really not that big at all. And by identifying it and speaking it out, or writing it down and then reading it out loud to yourself and identifying it, you can maybe diffuse it and go, you know what? That's a stupid thing to be afraid of. Or it might be something that's actually a very legitimate thing to be afraid of, and you need to address it. The other thing, the second suggestion that I would recommend to overcome fear or to help yourself in this process is, once you've identified it, especially if it's something in your mind or internally that is causing you to be frozen with fear, is to overcome that fear through action. Taking action towards that fear actually helps. For me, the fear was being up high and doing work from a higher elevation, and a slight fear of falling and stuff, but I knew from past experience that the ladder would hold me. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take action on it. And the quicker I worked and the quicker I got to that and worked through it, the faster I was able to get through that fear. For some people, it might be, speaking in front of people, or even speaking on camera. I know for doing a YouTube channel, people are terrified at recording themselves and hitting post and sending it out. The only way you get over that fear is by doing it, and by hitting record and then hitting publish. It's not going to be perfect. It may not be the best looking material, and it may not be the best content, but that's where everybody starts. The third step is repetition and practice for the win. When it comes to YouTube, the first couple times we post videos, we may not look very good, or we may not be very happy with the quality of the result we're getting. But if you repeat that process over and over, you become skilled at what you're doing, and the fear of the initial fear of being recorded or saying something wrong or screwing up starts to go away and starts to diminish. If over time I spent a lot of times going up and down a ladder, and it became my day job. If I became like someone who worked on roofs, every day I would climb a ladder, and maybe the first couple of times it might be scary, but through repetition and practice, I would become skilled at handling myself on a ladder, and I would become more adept at how to handle carrying things while going up a ladder. And so repetition and practice would eventually eliminate that fear. And so then it wouldn't be something that I would be afraid of anymore. And so with that, I would say those 3 steps would be great starter points to fight fear every day. Identify why you're afraid, or what you're afraid of, what's paralyzing you or crippling you from moving. And then attempt to overcome that fear through action and pushing through it. And then finally, if it's something that you need to do it again, repetition and practice for the win to overcome that fear. You know what, while we're at it, let's do one more bonus step. And that would be, let's say, to condition your mind to do hard things. I've been reading a lot about, from Tom Bilyeu and Evan Carmichael. They talk about taking cold showers every day. And I'm like, why in the world would anybody take a cold shower? And then I started looking into it a little bit more, and I've discovered that part of it is a mental game, strengthening and enforcing their mind to say, we do hard things. And I almost fear taking a shower because I know what it's going to feel like. And the initial feeling is I'm not going to like it. And so there's a little bit of a fear in me that says, it's like, I'm not afraid of cold water, but I'm fearing that shock, that's, such cold water. But by doing it on a regular basis, I become accustomed to it, and it's something that I tell myself, I do hard things, I do. And so it's been something that I've been trying to put into practice on a regular basis. I hope this has helped you and helped you in how you fight fear. So my question for you, what is fear keeping you from doing today? What is something that you've wanted to do, or you feel like you should be trying to do, but in the back of your mind, there's this fear that just kind of holds you down? For me, it's pushing forward in this channel in a direction that I've been kind of afraid to go because of judgment or what other people might say, or maybe because I fear that I'm not skilled enough in these areas. But what is it for you? What is fear keeping you from doing? I'd love to read about it in the comments and connect with you. And if this video has brought any value to you, would you consider subscribing and smashing that like button? Also tap that bell notification or icon so that when I post videos, you get notified